The bell above the bakery door had barely stopped ringing when Daniel Carter heard the words that stopped him cold. "I need to cancel the order. I can't pay for it." He turned, coffee cup still warm in his hand, and watched a woman in a lilac blazer push a pink cake box back across the counter, her fingers trembling as if the box itself weighed 100 pounds. Her voice was steady, controlled, the kind of forced calm people use when they are one sentence away from breaking. But her eyes told the real story. They were glassy, fixed on the box, refusing to look up at the young clerk who didn't know what to say. If you believe in stories about humanity, about small moments that change everything, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Share this with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Humanity Tales so you never miss a story like this one. Now let's get back to Daniel and the moment that changed 3 lives forever. Daniel Carter was no stranger to hard mornings. 3 years earlier, his wife Alina had died suddenly from a brain aneurysm, leaving him alone with their son Max, who was only 6 at the time. Daniel had rebuilt his life plank by plank, the way a man rebuilds a house after a storm, when there's no blueprint left, only memory and stubbornness. He worked as a project manager at a mid-sized construction firm, took Max to soccer practice on Tuesdays and speech therapy on Thursdays, and had learned, slowly and painfully, how to braid hair for picture day because there was no one else to do it. He was not rich. He was not a hero in any traditional sense. He was just a man who got up every day and did the next necessary thing. That morning, Daniel had stopped at Rosalind's Bakery, a small pastel-colored shop on Maple Street known for its muffins and its buttercream roses, because Max had a friend's birthday party that weekend and Daniel had promised a small treat. He was standing near the pastry case, half listening to the radio, when the woman in the lilac blazer walked in holding her phone like it might shatter. Her name, though Daniel didn't know it yet, was Sarah Whitfield. She was 34, a single mother, and until 4 days ago she had been employed as an office administrator at a logistics company that folded without warning, laying off 19 employees in one afternoon with no severance and a promise of back pay that everyone in the room understood, instinctively, would probably never come. She had ordered the cake 3 weeks earlier for her son Ben's 7th birthday, a chocolate cake with blue frosting shaped like a race car, because Ben had been talking about race cars since he was old enough to point at moving objects. She had paid a deposit. She had picked a date. She had let herself imagine for 3 weeks the look on Ben's face. Then the job ended and the numbers stopped working. Rent, groceries, the light bill that was already 2 weeks late. A $42 cake, fully custom, non-refundable deposit already gone, suddenly felt like a luxury from a different life, a life she used to have. She had told herself she would explain it to Ben gently, that he was young enough to forget, that store-bought cupcakes from the discount grocery would be fine, that 7-year-olds don't remember disappointment the way adults do. She had almost convinced herself of that lie all the way to the bakery door. But standing at the counter, canceling the order out loud, made it real in a way the math in her head never had. The young clerk, a girl not much older than 20, fumbled with the register, unsure whether to apologize or process the refund on the deposit, which policy said was non-refundable anyway. Sarah just nodded and said it was fine, she understood, and started to turn toward the door, her son's race car cake vanishing behind the counter along with a piece of the birthday she had promised him. Daniel didn't move at first. He told himself it wasn't his business. People had hard weeks. People canceled things. But there was something in the particular way Sarah held her shoulders, the way a person holds themselves when they are trying very hard not to fall apart in public, that reminded him of himself 18 months after Alina died, standing in a different store, canceling a vacation they'd already paid for because grief had eaten the part of him that could imagine future happiness. He remembered what it felt like to be that person, and he remembered more sharply what it had felt like when a stranger, an old man at the hardware store, had quietly paid for his paint cans without a word after overhearing Daniel on the phone with a collections agency. That stranger never learned Daniel's name. Daniel had never forgotten his face. So Daniel stepped forward. He asked the clerk, gently, if the cake could still be made, if the order could be reinstated. Sarah turned, confused, already forming the words to explain that he didn't need to do this, that she was fine, that this wasn't a conversation for strangers. But Daniel wasn't looking at her with pity, and that mattered more than she expected. He was looking at her the way one tired parent looks at another tired parent, with the particular recognition of someone who has also stood at a counter doing math that didn't work. He told her simply that he had a son too, that he knew what a birthday meant to a kid, and that he would like to help if she would let him. Sarah's first instinct was to refuse. Pride is a strange, stubborn thing, and it often shows up loudest exactly when a person can least afford it. She told him she couldn't accept charity from a stranger, that she would find another way, that Ben would be fine with cupcakes. But her voice cracked on the word fine, and that crack said more than her sentence did. Daniel didn't argue with her pride. He simply asked the clerk to write up the order again: chocolate cake, blue frosting, race car design, same as before, and he handed over his card before Sarah could stop him. What happened next is the part people remember when they tell this story. Daniel didn't stop at paying for the cake. He asked Sarah carefully, without pushing, whether Ben liked cars in general, and when she said yes, said Ben loved anything with wheels, Daniel mentioned that his company sometimes had extra hard hats and safety vests left over from job site giveaways, the kind kids go wild for, and asked if Ben might like one for his birthday. It was a small thing, a leftover promotional item worth maybe $8, but it wasn't really about the hard hat. It was about a stranger treating her son like he mattered enough to think about, at a moment when Sarah felt like the world had made it very clear that neither of them mattered much at all. Sarah stood in that bakery and cried, not the composed, careful tears she had been holding back at the counter minutes earlier, but real, unguarded tears. The kind that come when a person has been carrying something heavy alone for so long that they forgot other people could help carry it too. She apologized for crying, the way people do, as if grief and gratitude need an apology. Daniel told her they didn't. He told her he understood exactly what it felt like to be doing everything right and still feel like you were failing the one person you loved most, and that asking for help wasn't failure. It was just what people were supposed to do for each other. They exchanged names properly then, for the first time, standing between the pastry case and the pink boxes. Daniel learned that Sarah had been job hunting for 4 days straight, sending out applications between packing lunches and pretending to Ben that everything was normal. Sarah learned that Daniel had once been on the other end of a stranger's kindness and had spent 3 years waiting for a chance to pass it forward, without ever expecting the moment to look quite like this. The bakery clerk, watching the whole exchange, quietly told her manager what had happened. Word moves fast in small shops on small streets. By the time Ben's birthday arrived that Saturday, Rosalind's bakery had added a small candle display to the cake at no extra charge, the owner saying only that it was for a good customer having a rough week. When Ben blew out 7 candles on a chocolate race car cake, wearing a hard hat 2 sizes too big, laughing so hard he nearly fell off his chair, Sarah watched from across the room with her phone in her hand, not recording, just holding it, thinking about how close she had come to letting him have cupcakes instead and calling it enough. Daniel and Sarah stayed in touch after that day, first through a simple thank you text, then through the kind of ordinary, unforced friendship that grows between 2 parents who understand exactly how hard the invisible parts of parenting can be. Max and Ben met a few weeks later at a park, and within 20 minutes they were building an entire imaginary racetrack out of sticks and mulch, as if they had known each other for years instead of minutes. Sarah found a new job within 2 months, an administrative role at a school district with better hours, and for the first time in a long time, a sense of stability she hadn't felt since before the layoff. She has said, since then, that the hardest part of that whole ordeal wasn't the lost income. It was the fear that she had become invisible, The fear that hard work and good intentions could simply not be enough anymore, and that no one out there was paying attention. Daniel proved in one small, unremarkable Tuesday morning that someone was. If this story moved you even a little, please take a moment to like this video. Leave a comment about a time someone's small kindness changed your day, and share this with someone who might need to be reminded that people are still good. And before you go, I want you to do one thing for me. Comment the word hope right now, just that one word, so I know you made it to the end of this story with me. Because sometimes the smallest act, a canceled cake quietly uncanceled, a hard hat handed to a boy who loves cars, a stranger simply choosing to see someone instead of walking past, is enough to remind a person that they are not carrying their hardest days alone. And if you needed that reminder today, we hope this story found you exactly when you needed it.